Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis, and welcome to this video lesson. We're going to continue talking about Visual Basic, specifically the repetition structure, as I show you some other statements that are part of the category of repetition structure. So let me switch over here to my Visual Studio program, and as you can see over here, I have a very simple form where the user is going to enter an integer, and when they click Submit, it'll print however many number of multiple of 5s that they want to see. So for example, if I run this program and if I type in the number 4, say for example, so here we see 4 multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20. That's the total of 4, and then I just simply click Quit to stop the program. Alright, so let's take a look at this, and I'll double click on the Submit button so we can take a look at the code. There are 3 different repetition structures that I want to go over. Well, the first one you already know about, and that's the while statement. We're also going to talk about the for statement, and then finally we'll talk about the do loop statement. Alright, so in terms of a review of the while statement, this is referred to as a pre-test looping structure because what it does is it conducts a test. Namely, is counter less than user number in this particular case? If it is, then we execute the loop body, which is the stuff inside of the while and the end while statements. Alright, so this test is conducted first, then the loop body is actually executed. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the old value of the output, I'm going to concatenate that with a space, I'll concatenate that also with whatever the value of counter is plus 1 times the multiple, and then I'm going to convert that to a string because I'm basically concatenating a bunch of strings. Then I increment the value of counter, and we do this again and again and again for however many times the user number wants to see multiples of 5. Okay, so you already saw that program execution. Now I'm going to go ahead and comment this out, and I'll click this guy over here to create comments out of those statements, and then I'm going to uncomment these 3 lines. Click this over here. All right, and this is the for statement. The for statement is also a looping structure statement, and it is also a pre-test looping structure like the while statement. And so the way this thing works out is instead of using while, the for is placed at the very beginning, and then everything is consolidated into one line. So first of all, we indicate what the counter starts off at. Then we indicate what we are going to. In this case, we're going to whatever user number minus 1 is. Now, missing from here is the step. By default, the step is always 1. In other words, over here you see how we take counter is equal to counter plus 1. That's incrementing. In the for statement, you just simply say step. Now, no one really puts step 1 because it's automatically going to be incrementing by 1. So you can just simply eliminate this. But if you wanted to step by 2, say for example, or increment by 2, then you would have to do something like this, step 2. Since we're just simply going to be incrementing by 1, then I don't have to do that. So the for statement consolidates all of the different parts of the while statement over here into one line. So the while statement, we have an initial value of counter, that's taken care of over here. Over here we have a condition, how counter is going to be as long as it's less than the user number. Well, over here we're going up to the user number minus 1. And then we're incrementing the counter. Over here we could have put step 1, but invisibly it's already going to be incrementing by 1. And so then what do? Notice that this line of code is exactly copied and pasted over here. We're simply going to be outputting all of the multiples of 5. So if I were to run this program, type in the number 4 into the text box, click submit, there it is, 5, 10, 15, 20. All right. So now let me take these 3 lines of code and let me make those into comments. And let's talk about this last looping structure. So let me uncomment these. And this is called the do loop. Now, the way that this works out, first of all, this is a post-test looping structure. In other words, what this means is the do loop will, in fact, execute the statements inside of its loop body. Then it will detest, I'm sorry, I should have said detest. Then it will test to determine if whether or not you're going to do this loop body a second, third, fourth, fifth, so forth and so on time. All right, so the idea is do the loop for sure, absolutely 1 time. Then determine if whether or not we're going to do it a second and third time and so forth and so on. All right, so what do? We establish what the counter is. We set that equal to 0. Do the following loop. Okay, well, what are we going to do? We're going to take this output and, oh, okay, over here it looks like I've done something a little bit different. Over here it looks like I've concatenated that with a VB new line. VB new line means go to the beginning of the next line. I'm going to concatenate that with whatever counter plus 1 multiple is and convert that to a string. So it looks like I'm going to have 5, 10, 15, 20, say for example, standing one on top of the other. Then it's going to perform the counter. As long as the counter is less than user number, then we do the loop over and over and over again. All right, so if I were to run this program, and let's type in the number 4. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, here we go, 5, 10, 15, and the label is not tall enough to be able to accommodate the last number. What if I did this? What if I commented this guy out? Oops, sorry. Remove the comment for this, and then I'll place a comment over here for this line of code, because this is basically a copy and paste of what we've done in the past. So we should now see those numbers in horizontal display. So I go ahead and put the number 4 over here, submit, yep, 5, 10, 15, 20. So I think what I was doing is just simply showing you that we could have also displayed the numbers vertically as opposed to displaying them horizontally. The idea behind the do loop is as follows. Do the following, which I've just highlighted, and we are going to continue to loop while this is in fact the case. While the counter is less than the user number, go back to the beginning of the loop body and then continue from here. So we call the do loop a post-test looping structure because we execute it one time for sure. Then we test to determine if we're going to do this a second, third, and so forth and so on time. And then finally, we're simply going to take whatever that output string is, send it to the text property of the label. All right, so what you've learned about in this particular video lesson are a couple of extra looping structures. You already know about the while looping structure. We've done that right now and also in a previous video lesson. You now know about this guy over here. The for loop statement is also a pre-test looping structure. When we talk about arrays later on in the semester, for loops and arrays, they go hand in hand. The nice thing about the for loop is everything is concise. Everything is on one line of code. You also learned that we could also apply a step over here in terms of how we're going to be incrementing from one value to the next. And then finally, you learned about the do loop statement. The do loop is called a post-test looping structure. Namely, you will execute the loop body guaranteed one time. The question is, are you going to go through this a second, third, and fourth time, so forth and so on? Well, that depends on this condition. As long as this condition is met, yeah, you'll keep on looping over and over and over again. And that's it. All right, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.